Fairmont Crest has never truly been peaceful. It is merely a place where secrets know how to lie still beneath a glaze of elegance, ready to crack the moment someone dares to ask deep enough questions. As the truth of Leslie's origins surfaces, a new fracture runs through the town's entire structure. Not just a matter of lineage, but a challenge to power, inheritance, and the faces so familiar that everyone long assumed they were blameless. The fact that Barbara, the beloved voice of the articulate, quietly appears in legal papers naming Leslie as her biological child does more than push Leslie into the light. It opens a backstage door where Anita's meticulous arrangements have been kept under wraps under the promise of honoring the dead. A massive trust, rights tied to an art catalog and real estate, and the golden dust that coats the articulate brand suddenly tilt toward someone who once lived at the rim of this glittering circle. Leslie savors the transformation like a strong wind, displaying a calm indifference to scrutinizing eyes, buying the silences she needs, building networks, inking seemingly harmless agreements, and crossing the Dupree threshold with the certainty of someone who, from the beginning, belonged there. But every sheen has a jagged underside, and hers is the question that returns every night. If Barbara is the mother who left the other half inside her, the half that quietly shaped the way she fears, the way she reacts to power, the way she grows angry for reasons she cannot name, Leslie's restlessness is not a fragile ache. It operates like a cool, defensive mechanism. She prunes her schedule, narrows her circle of trust, and starts flattening a storage pile few have the nerve to touch. Handwritten letters, performance invoices from the articulate, backstage itineraries, candid photos snapped in haste, even an audio engineer's notebook filled with obscure marks only insiders can decode. She realizes Barbara was always careful, never leaving what was hers without setting an escape hatch in case it fell into other hands. So when she finds the letter written in that familiar hand, the feeling is not lightning but a door swinging open inside a house she has long lived in without ever stepping into the basement. The name in the letter does not appear like a romantic riddle. It exposes a political, financial, and emotional coordinate that has been woven into Fairmont Crest for years, tugging countless threads tied to the Dupree family, to those who lifted Leslie because a trust stood behind her, and to those eager to pull her down to preserve the old order. In that instant, she understands that real power is not the stack of money compounding in the background, but the ability to force others to reframe their own stories around you. Understanding, however, arrives with an anger that has no clean target. Rage at a prolonged absence, at a life written with blank passages handed to time to fill, at the possibility that many saw this secret early and stayed quiet to protect comfortable bargains. Leslie begins to rebuild the narrative with ruthless logic. The man in the letter is not just a past romance of Barbara's but a not strong enough to bend the future. If he has been part of Fairmont Crest all along, his presence must already have shaped the choices she believed she made freely of late. Anita's sudden acceleration of a partial transfer of rights within the trust. A few Dupree members softening strangely during real estate negotiations. Archivists of the articulate proposing to reappraise certain master tapes. Old adversaries abandoning public attacks to adopt subtler levers. She feels like a puzzle piece long ago measured by someone else, placed so that when it finally slid into position it would work at once. Her anger hardens into a plan. Verify the letter with evidence, not instinct. Measure the damage if the truth is released. Model the chain reactions likely to follow among every principal player in town. She drafts a list of who might know, each name assigned a probability, and studies the microsigns in their behavior. A glance skewed at dinner, a hesitation over a signature, a message that never answers anything directly. She treats them like raw data night after night, trembling at the answer yet exhilarated by a new autonomy. Truth has never been a single-edged blade. If she announces it, she will claim an irreplaceable position in Fairmont Crest and fling a weighty object into the faces of those who manipulated her outsider status to their advantage. At the same time, she may shatter the delicate balance that has protected Barbara's legacy from cannibalizing lawsuits, inviting counterattacks even from people who recently called her an ally. If she remains silent, She can continue to consolidate her presence as an heir, slip through the hairline fractures of law and sentiment without causing a quake. But the obsession with identity will keep gnawing, turning every victory into a hollow milestone. She cannot return to the moment before she opened the envelope. Every option now leaves a scar. One more variable. Does the man in the letter know of her? Did he deliberately look away? Or is he also bound by old compromises? If he knew and stayed silent, it is a foundational betrayal, and his reckoning cannot stop at embarrassment. If he did not know, her arrival will upend the equilibrium upon which several interest groups rely for survival. Fairmont Crest has a memory of its own, preserving profit through contracts and wordless handshakes. Anita may have safeguarded the trust to honor her friend, but even she cannot stand outside the collisions to come. People will ask how someone as close to Barbara as Anita never signaled anything to Leslie earlier. Perhaps there was a deliberate delay, waiting for the scales to tip in favor of long-running projects tied to the Articulatte's commercial rights. The Duprees will be forced to choose sides between Leslie's new legitimacy and the order they invested so much to control. Their enemies will seize the chance to wield the event as a hammer of public opinion, while the neutral will invoke stability to justify clauses that reduce Leslie to a symbol rather than a decider. That is how this world operates. Toast you with crystal, then pull away the chair the moment you stand to speak. Leslie knows there is only one way forward: turn fury into strategic weight. She audits the legal seams around the Articulatte's legacy, prepares clean timelines linking Barbara and the man in the letter, hides her arrows behind gentle gestures, and releases into Fairmont Crest a heavy silence that forces everyone to misread her rhythm. She tightens the circle so those who thought they knew her tempo begin to sense its shift. Every step is a hard choice. No one wants to be the immediate cause of a cascading collapse, but no one has the right to live forever inside a story written by others with a father's name missing. She pilots controlled disclosures, leaks a harmless detail to a chosen person, tracks the spread, times the echo, records every effort to smother the rumor. From this she draws the true power map of the town, where chords of sentiment and interest weave into a maze. At the center of that maze, Leslie is no longer the woman stepping out of shadow, but someone willing to pay the price for a new order aligned with the identity she was denied too long. She does not need to shout to claim space. Legitimacy alone compels the surrounding noise to retune itself. Yet the anger remains, a steady drum in her chest reminding her of the sleepless nights and the instant when a single name on paper nearly stole her breath. It does not blind her. It sharpens intuition so she can tell the hand extended for gain from the hand that quietly tests the timing to set a blade. When she folds the letter and tucks it away somewhere safe, it is no longer a relic but a blueprint for the near future. Truth can be weapon, shield, or bridge. For Leslie, it is the pillow that will not let her sleep unless placed squarely. On the day she spreads it across the table, Fairmont Crest will be forced to count, again, who truly belongs and who merely banked their souls in a system they mistook for immutable. And when the walls tremble, people will learn to distinguish between the necessary crack that lets air in and the collapse of rooms that have long since rotted. Leslie does not beg for mercy. She prepares contingencies. Whether she chooses to speak now or hold one more beat of silence, she will conduct the tempo. She knows every act will unleash a chain of unpleasant reactions. Enemies will call it chaos she created. Allies will demand why they were not warned. But she has lived long enough in other people's script to recognize the rare intersection of fate and choice. This time she moves forward not for permission but to reset the axis. And whatever waits ahead, a tribunal of public opinion, a storm of litigation, or a cold redistribution of power, Leslie has secured the one thing everyone in Fairmont Crest covets: continuity between identity, memory, and decision-making, the only force strong enough to make an empire correct its posture without a single shot fired. But just as Leslie began mapping out her quiet storm, something shifted, not in her, but in the air around her. Package arrived at her door with no return address. Small, black, wrapped in a texture too smooth, too deliberate. Inside, a single flash drive, unmarked except for a symbol etched faintly in silver. A treble clef crossed by a dagger. It meant nothing to her at first until she remembered. A backstage photo of Barbara from decades ago, wearing a pendant with the same design, long rumored among fans to symbolize a pact within the articulate that no member ever spoke about publicly. Her fingers hesitated above the keyboard before sliding the drive into her laptop. The screen flickered. Static. Leslie pressed play. The footage was grainy, dimly lit, but unmistakable. Barbara sat across from someone just outside the camera's frame, her tone hushed but fierce, her eyes darting between rage and grief. The words were garbled, but one name pierced through the static: Leslie's. Then came another name, one not found in the letter, one that made Leslie's entire body go cold. It wasn't the name of the man in the envelope. It was someone else entirely. A second man. A second possibility. A second truth? Her chest tightened. Had Barbara lied even in her final letter? Or had someone intercepted the truth and planted a decoy, steering Leslie toward a controlled version of reality? And more terrifying, who had sent the video now? Someone who had been watching her. Someone who knew exactly what she'd found, and what she hadn't. The ground beneath her feet shifted again. She wasn't just part of a secret. She was a pawn in an ongoing war she hadn't even known existed. That night, Leslie burned the envelope. Not out of rage. Out of calculation. The game had changed. The truth she thought she'd found was no longer a conclusion. It was a doorway, and behind it, a web of betrayals not yet mapped. She would have to play smarter, colder, with every smile hiding a blade, every alliance a test. No one could know which name she now believed. No one could know that she no longer trusted anything. Not Barbara, not the letter, not even herself. And as dawn broke over Fairmont Crest, lighting up the stained glass windows of its mansions and casting long shadows across their manicured lawns, Leslie stared into her reflection and no longer saw a daughter searching for a father. She saw an heir forging a legacy, one secret at a time. Somewhere in the town, a phone vibrated. A hidden number. A man's voice whispered through the receiver, "She's begun." Then silence. The past had returned, but the real war was just beginning. Thank you for taking the time to watch my video. All the content I make is just speculation and personal sharing. If you find the video interesting and useful, please support me with a like and leave a comment. If you have better ideas or more interesting speculations, please share them in the comments section for everyone to discuss. I appreciate all your contributions and support. Sincerely, thank you.